Hey, Carl, now that Pulsar Security is going to be sponsoring the podcast directly, you want to hear the ad copy that we came up with?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, get ready for this. In a world full of security challenges.
No. We can't say in a world.
Come on, that sounds perfect.
You think we should?
It's like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie
You
cliche.
think we should leave it open for services on Mars? Is that what you're saying? I mean,
you can't.
Okay.
All right, just go ahead and read the rest of it.
Can I say in a world or no?
Go for it. I don't care.
In a world full of security challenges, trust is everything.
Well, that's true.
At Pulsar Security, we are enabling organizations to thrive safely in an ever-changing digital world.
Yeah.
Our experts conduct cutting-edge cybersecurity services, ensuring your business stays one step ahead of threats.
All good.
Experience peace of mind as we deliver robust solutions tailored to your needs. Your security is our priority. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Choose Pulsar Security for a safer tomorrow. Visit us at pulsarsecurity.com. Empower your digital journey with confidence. Security starts here.
Okay. I like everything but
Okay.
in a world.
It worked for Batman.
I do like to
This
dress
is
dark and in
serious.
hoodies.
Now, this is serious stuff here, man. You're talking about keeping companies safe.
Yeah, we are talking about
Yeah,
that.
like
don't wanna-
cyber superheroes. Come on, Carl.
Conjure up images of the predator, you know?
Well, we should have done this from the start. So now we are officially
All right.
sponsoring Security This Week by Pulsar Security.
Well, good luck with your ad.
Thanks.
Hey, did you guys ever make sandcastles with your kids?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, all the time.
Yeah. I used to make sandcastles with my grandpa, actually.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Until my mother made me put the urn back on the mantle.
Your grandfather must have been very unhealthy if he was like sand.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wayne's still laughing. This is
That
great.
is hilarious. I just didn't know where that was going, and you know what? Well done. Well
You
played.
didn't see that.
I didn't
See what I did there? Foom, foom, and voop, and voom.
That was awesome.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, Carl, how you doing?
Carl, how are you?
I'm looking forward to spring.
Oh my God, can't wait.
Spring.
The
All
varmint says the vermin said it was going to come soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know it's spring when Home Depot starts putting out patio furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's, it's kind of, but it's trailer, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's a leading indicator of spring. It's not really spring yet, but they're getting ready for you.
Right.
I thought you were talking about my cousin Patrick from the old furniture side of the family.
The old furniture.
Oh, patio furniture.
Oh, patio furniture.
All right. Can we talk about some of these stupid stories now?
Let's
What
do
is
it.
Joomla and why did they fix XSS flaws that could expose sites to RCE attacks?
Joomla is a content management system, a
Right.
CMS, similar to WordPress and all the others out there. And the whole they came up when they wanted to like make it easy to have a website, very convenient. to build a website.
Convenient.
I'm going to say,
What could
listen,
go wrong?
content management systems, hacking content management systems is mostly like shooting fish in a barrel.
Mm.
Because it's like, oh, hey, you can create any web page you want, but we're going to make it secure. And I was like, if I'm a hacker and I get into the CMS
No.
and I could create any page I want, like I just create a page that gives me control of the system. So
Right.
I don't know. Anyways.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so this is a remote code execution attacks
Hmm.
through a cross-site scripting flaw. So let's talk about those two acronyms real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So remote code execution is bad. Okay, very bad. But privilege
Or good.
escalation is another type that's a little less bad depending on the situation. But remote code execution means somebody like Dwayne can run their code, which is not good, no bueno, on your site. You never want that to happen. And then it's coming through a cross-site scripting flaw, which is cross-site scripting is when the website allows someone else to put data that you will see. And by the nature of that, they can poison it. It should be like HTML poisoning would probably be a better way to refer to it because most people don't know cross-site scripting. Dwayne, you want to add to that description? Cross-site scripting?
No, you're doing a great job.
I'm doing a great job. That's very rarely heard.
Can we
No,
hear
I'm
from
actually-
an expert?
Yeah, you're doing wonderfully. Now, I'm actually looking at some of these CVEs because some of them are, whoo,
Chef's kiss?
Oh yeah. Mwah. Perfect.
Man.
I mean, one is inadequate escaping of mail addresses led to cross-site scripting. Inadequate
Oh, can I explain escaping?
escaping. Yes, please.
Because if you're not a programmer, you might not know about this, but in a programming language, when we have a string of text, like, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog or whatever, and let's say it has a quote in it, but I've got quotes around what I'm, showing my string itself to define it. So I have to use an escape character, which is a / and then a quote.
Mm-hmm.
And then that will put in a quote. Because if I just put a quote in there, now the programming language thinks I've ended the string in the middle of it or whatever.
Right.
So that's what escaping is. It's like, hey, this is a code that means something that when it renders, it's going to be something else.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting things if we take a look at, there's like 5 CVEs here. The MFA, multi-factor authentication management feature, did not properly terminate existing user sessions
Termine.
when a user's termine.
They say termine. Did not properly termine.
It does say termine.
Is that the past tense of terminate?
Termine.
Only in
Maybe?
Esperanto.
Existing
It actually
user
might be
sessions
in Esperanto.
when a user's MFA method had been modified. So break that down. I have MFA, multi-factor authentication. It gives me, let's say it's a Google Authenticator and I have a code.
Yeah.
I go into my account, change the MFA to something else, text me, right?
Right.
It doesn't delete your existing sessions. It just assumes they're good. Now, the reason I'd go in and change my MFA is because I think it's compromised, right?
Right.
So then the developer was like, well, the sessions must still be good.
No.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating to read through some of these and just see like what are the common things that people may mess up from a code perspective.
So I got a story for you. When I was very first into programming on Windows, right? I had a friend and we were working together on something. And I said, hey, I got this really cool remote thing where I can pull up Notepad on your machine through a socket, right?
Oof.
And so it was something like that. And he goes, really? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Check it out. So I told him to run this app and it was listening for like a UDP something or in a loop. And then, I sent him this message and I basically didn't have an exit, a loop exit. It went into a tight loop and just completely hung his machine.
Crushed it.
He was
Crushed
so mad.
it. Nailed it.
But I didn't do it intentionally. I mean, that's like, you don't test your bugs on your friends, right?
Oh, heck
Yeah,
no.
and you don't run code from Carl Franklin.
Well, not back then anyway. I was green.
It's like when Carl says, hey, I want to try something. I saw it in a cartoon once, but I think it'll work.
Yeah. Fun times. All right. So is there a patch for this Joomla thing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there are patches galore.
And this is
Patches galore.
5 of them at least.
Yeah.
But this is another, like, the more complicated the systems are, the more convenient they're trying to make life, the more
Right.
complicated they become and the more difficult or belabored their efforts to make things secure. So
if only it was written in Rust.
Right?
None of this would have happened.
Rust.
Yeah, okay. That's
Right,
the
that's a little
Language of the
premonition.
gods.
Band-Aid of the day, a little presaging. Yeah. So, these systems, you need to be careful. What would be better is to find a way to not let the management interfaces be exposed. But that's the problem is they want to be managed over the internet. That's their whole raison d'etre. I think I said that right. All right.
You mean
that was
reason for
terrible
existing?
French, I
Yes.
believe.
I know.
Is that what you were trying to say?
I speak German. The German don't speak great French.
Oh, so it's very good German French.
I'm not actually German at all. I just speak
German.
it. Don't have Schadenfreude for me. See, I said that right.
Very
That
nice.
was good. That was well said. Yeah.
All right. So
Kelly always says, what is that word that's like shotgun? Sure, that's a German word. That's what I got right now for you.
Thanks.
I could see her
Yeah.
saying that.
Thanks, I
I can
think.
hear
Yeah.
her saying that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to China.
Oh, here's a good one.
This is Patrick's favorite topic.
Well, this
One of them.
This
Up
this
there.
came out like the day after we recorded, right?
It did.
Yeah.
Massive cybersecurity breach.
So I had several people call me and say, so what's this mean? And I said, it means China really sucks at hacking. Basically, the situation is this. I believe, don't have any inside information, believe though, that
Wink.
China tries to hack us. We try to hack China. Russia tries to hack us. Russia tries to hack China. We try to hack Russia.
Everybody's hacking.
It's all a game of like making sure we're in position, making sure we know what they're doing, things like that.
Now it's kind of like fornication. Everybody does it, but nobody talks about it.
You hear about China getting caught all the time.
Yeah.
You hear about Russia getting caught all the time.
Right.
To the point that things like this make it seem like, wow, they're just eating our lunch. But do you know who doesn't get caught all the time? Is us. The United States.
Well,
it's happened.
Oh, wait. You meant us, the United States.
Maybe the rest of the world is talking about us, but we're certainly not.
Well,
no, because we're on their servers. We don't see it.
but think about it.
You're
When's
on
the last
their
time?
servers, not me,
I
buddy.
can only think in the last year or so, I can only think of one or two stories where the U.S. was caught with their hand in the cookie jar, where they were looking at networks or doing things they weren't supposed to be doing in the cyber world.
But it's funny because sometimes, even though we like Stuxnet, even though we develop this brilliant worm, we then hand it off to people and go, "You won't use it." And they're like, "Yeah, I will." Yeah, and then it's like Mikey, he'll try it.
Yeah, so it's
and then it gets.
Did you ever see the Thomas Crown affair? It's not.
I love the Thomas Crown affair.
It's not the guys, the criminals that you hear about that are brilliant. It's the ones you never hear about that are brilliant. I think we are ahead of the game. Now, the other side of this is it's a target-rich environment for us. Every business is kind of on their own because most businesses in the United States don't want the government securing their network because that would mean their privacy is vulnerable and stuff like that. So we've got this weird double stage thing where I think we're better off than we think. I think it's more hype because we're just seeing a lot more of this. But
okay, now that you've heard the editorial, let's talk about the story. China.
I think it was longer than the story.
China's hired hackers, a massive cybersecurity breach exposing China's operations. So leaked files reveal a variety of services available for purchase, including information obtained from targets across the globe. According to a significant data leak from a Chinese cybersecurity company, state security agents are paying tens of thousands of pounds. That tells you what country this was written in, to gather data on targets, including foreign governments. Meanwhile, hackers are gathering massive amounts of data on any individual or organization that could be of interest to their potential clients.
Yeah. So basically, a company like ours that was doing things for a government that were naughty, their government, China, and somebody said, you know what, this isn't right, and they dumped it all into GitHub.
Yeah.
And you know, that happens, but it doesn't show a lot of sophistication. It shows a lot of movement, a lot of activity is my take on it.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is, so you're telling me that the PLA doesn't have
People's Liberation Army.
I was going to say, define the acronym, please.
The Chinese Army.
Right. Doesn't have a team of hackers that can do this?
No, I think they do. And I think they have more targets than they have time and people to do it with. But this is, I think, if you look into the story, I think this was a police organization that was hiring them. It wasn't the central government.
Got it.
Everybody's spying over there.
And some of them are for sale.
Unbelievable.
And this is also related, if you read the article, it's also related to the fact that there were police stations set up in other countries, including the United States, that were supposed to be to help their citizens, but they were really to keep the dissidents in line.
I've heard it both ways.
Oof.
Quick, name the show.
No. It's Sean Gus.
Yeah, that's right.
My
Psych.
kids would be so mad at me. Psych.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
All right, let me get my pineapple.
I've heard it both
I'll be right
ways.
back.
My son has a mug that has all of the ways that Sean introduced Gus in the show.
Yeah, that's great.
It's awesome. If you
What a
just
great
watch
show.
It. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess Patrick's editorial at the beginning of this was really salient, which is there might be a lot of movement, but China doesn't actually look all that sophisticated because they keep getting caught.
And if you do, if you do enough of the hacking and you spend enough time in this, you get stuff, you find stuff. It's the Marriott breach of several, a number of years ago of 500 million records never surfaced on the web. And it's widely thought it was done by the Chinese government to figure out who's the spies from the West and where they're staying and watch where they're going. If you do enough of this stuff, you do get kernels of information, but they get caught quite a bit. We know lots and lots of people in our industry who've caught Chinese hackers. And, every time one of these governments gets caught, it's usually news, but eventually it just becomes noise. It doesn't hit the news all the time. Every time it happens to a U.S. hacking group, it's news.
Oh my gosh, they're up in arms.
Chinese hackers sounds like a disease you get when you travel overseas. Oh, I came back with Chinese hackers.
It's like the shingles.
I caught Chinese hackers. Okay, so there's not really a lot we can do about that. It's just a good story.
Just an interesting story if you're following global
And, if
cyber.
you want to protect yourself from being hacked by Chinese people, program your code in Rust. Right?
Now, could the next story be even more up my alley?
Yeah, right.
I know, right?
So Quantum is here, and if you don't believe it, read this story from darkreading.com. Apple beefs up iMessage with quantum-resistant encryption, which would be great, except is there any quantum to be resistant from?
Yeah, well, that's...
Yet?
So here's the chicken and egg thing.
That means it's 100% successful, Carl.
Yeah, exactly.
So
See, there are no bears here because I'm whacking the sticks together.
Well, so here's the problem. It's widely known, it's widely acknowledged that some of our adversaries, China, Russia, are gathering information in its encrypted form, getting a copy of the public keys, and holding it until there is a quantum computer capable of decrypting it, which means you can't wait until there's a threat ready that day. You have to do this before there's a threat.
Right, but they've got old data. By the time they decrypt it, the coupon's expired.
Right.
They'll have to pay full price at Wendy's like everybody else.
Yeah, and that's your life, but the government's life is, where are the missile silos? Those don't move on a 5-year basis.
There goes Patrick pooping all over my jokes again.
Right? Jeez.
That's my job. That's my
Patrick
job.
is a wet blanket
I
today.
know. That's why it's funny.
So the idea, NIST, our friends at NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, have come out with candidates. They're going to come out with their final recommendations soon, and it's pretty well expected.
I thought they had already come out with final finals.
They came out with a finalist, but they didn't come out with the final report. Basically, Syke, SYKE, had a side channel attack, so that kind of fell off the list. For the most part, if you look at the crystals.org protocols, which are lattice-based protocols, that's kind of the winners. There's Crystals Dilithium and Crystals Kyber. Yeah, those are the two names.
Yes,
Crystals,
those are the two.
Dilithium
and Kyber.
So Crystals is used...
Where's Crystal's kryptonite?
Nerds invented it. Nerds.
So dilithium Kyber is meant for key encapsulation mechanism. So it basically encrypts the message.
Okay.
And dilithium is for signing
starships
of messages. It is for starships.
Sorry, Patrick. We're really laughing at your expense today, but you really are the only one who's like saying anything of any nutritional value here.
Right?
I'm used to that.
All right. So the long and short of it is there are no quantum computers yet that can possibly attack you. However, Apple knows that this is coming, and they're beefing up iMessage with quantum resistant encryption.
So plug for my other podcast. And on my other podcast, Entangled Things, where we talk about quantum computing,
right.
Harvard just did a 48 qubit logical qubit system. So we're moving down the pipeline to a point where we can break really weak encryption. When we can break the really hard encryption is when the world's going to lose its mind. And some people are calling it YQK.
Right.
When quantum comes.
Right.
That's a very geeky joke.
The
geekiest of all jokes ever uttered.
Now, I got a geekier one. Quantum was predicted in the Bible.
What?
That's when God told Noah to build the ark 40 cubits by 20 qubits by 50 qubits or whatever.
Who knew?
I bet you could run Moore's algorithm on that.
Yeah.
So what's this mean? What this means is that it's time to start kicking the tires on this. It's time to start thinking about how you're using encryption and getting it to the next level, because eventually there'll be a too late, and nobody can tell you realistically how long you have.
Right.
Do you have 5 years? Do you have 20 years? And so it is stronger encryption. It is better encryption because it's geometric instead of algebraic.
Right. And if they ever decide to give up this quantum resistant encryption, it'll probably be, 50 years in the future, and you can go dig up your old iPhone and use that. So,
that's right.
So that's the call to action, right?
Yeah.
All right. And right now our call to action is a break. So we'll be back with more Security This Week after these very important messages. And we're back. You're listening to Security This Week. I'm Carl Franklin. That's Patrick Hines and Dwayne LaFlotte. And we just got done with the iMessage quantum thing. And is there anything you guys want to say more about quantum?
How much time do you have?
Listen to Patrick's other podcast. Let's talk about WordPress.
Well, so
God knows they don't get enough press.
I mean, right? Joomla made WordPress jealous, and so they had to make an appearance.
Of course.
In our list.
So the Hacker News says WordPress Lightspeed plugin vulnerability puts 5 million sites at risk.
I love this one.
So Lightspeed's a cache add-in.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dwayne.
This is one of the reasons. This should be like the poster child of why people should have code reviews done by professionals who understand what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of anybody?
The link we're going to post is actually really good at breaking down this attack. Because if you take a look at how this attack works, they're inducing a error state in the CDN check, the distribution network check, unauthenticated. And what happens is there's controlled input that they can supply to the check, that when an error gets thrown, it gets thrown up on the administrator's control panel.
Ew.
So I, as an unauthenticated attacker, can make a call to the CDN status endpoint with no authentication, give it my malicious code as what to check. It always returns true, but then when it goes to check this code, it throws an error, and it puts the code in the message box that pops up running as an administrator.
Oh, what could happen?
So this is not something you're going to go, oh, it's where it said if your password equals password, then just let them log in. This is
It's kind of like me as a teenager going, oh, I didn't exit the loop.
Right. Like this is 4 or 5 levels deep in an endpoint that was supposed to check the status of the CDN. And when you trace it all the way back, you're like, this is awesome. But a normal developer writing this wouldn't have seen this.
It's transparent to them.
This is where someone who understands cybersecurity and is looking to break or fuzz these endpoints would go, okay, what are all the things that I can supply to this system? What are all the ones that are unauthenticated? And what are the ones I have control over? And then where do they go, right? And start working your way through the application there. So I love this one in that it's a pretty straightforward hack. It's not super sophisticated, but the way to track these down is not as easy as you would think. Like most people will be like, oh, why? The developers must be stupid. And no, they're not. No. The developers are focused on functionality, right? They're focused on getting these out the door, getting it to do what it's supposed to do, etc.
It's likely that different developers develop the admin interface than the error interface.
Yep, and people who do security code reviews are a different beast entirely. You know, they have years of development experience, but also have years of exploit experience and years of understanding what the right way to do it is.
And they're looking
it's just
at the
a different
forest,
subset.
Not the trees. Right. They're seeing the whole architecture and how it relates, which is something developers aren't trained to do and don't get experience doing.
And frankly,
frankly, don't get time to do.
Yeah.
Right. How often Carl, has somebody come to you when you're developing an application for them and they go, you know what, I'd like you to take the next month and a half, 2 months off. We'll pay you. We just want you to look over the code and make sure it's secure.
Yeah, everybody's
Like,
code, not
never.
just yours.
Right.
Nope.
Exactly. Yeah, not just yours. Like, we want you to look at the whole app holistically.
Yeah.
Just, give it a once over.
Yeah.
Like, nobody does
Nope,
that.
nope,
They're like, hey,
nobody.
Carl, when can you have this done? Is it yesterday?
Right.
Thanks. So yeah, no, this is a really good reason. And they actually in this article even go through what the patch is for it. So this, if you're a budding engineer who wants, or developer who wants to understand how these security hacks work, yeah, absolutely read through this. This is really good.
Interesting.
Do you ever see like one of these home improvement programs where it's like, yeah, they did this thing in the basement and now we have to replace all the bathrooms on the second floor.
I'm living it. What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about architectural, like just little missteps that have ramifications all the way through the stack.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you said that, the manager's always like, hurry up. You remind me of like Hell's Kitchen where Gordon Ramsay's coming, come on, I need lamb. And so then they rush the lamb and it's raw and he goes, it's fucking raw.
And you're like,
It's like,
you
what
needed
did you
it.
fast.
expect?
Yeah, it's fast.
I need the lamb.
Yep. Exactly.
I used to have somebody, when I first got back out of the army, I had a manager who said, he was screaming at people and he said, I need it right now. And I said, you can have it right or you can have it now. And he says,
But you can't have it
he
right
says,
now.
and then he calmed down and he looked at me, he says, I need it right.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'll have it for you as fast as I can.
Yeah, good. Okay, so were any of you guys affected by last week's outage of AT&T?
My wife was. I didn't notice any problem.
I must have been sleeping or something, or maybe just on home Wi-Fi because I was working all day. I didn't notice anything, but I did get a text message from someone that said, we're AT&T and we're very sorry about this outage, and if you click here, we'll make it right for you. I guess they gave everybody $1 or something,
Wow.
$5 or something.
I wouldn't click on that email for $1.
$1. Yeah.
Maybe
you
it
know
was
what? I've
$5.
stopped clicking on.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Even
so
$5 is not enough for me to click on anything. Go ahead.
yeah, so Ars Technica has a story about AT&T's botched network update is what caused the wireless outage.
Everyone I talked to that day thought it was a cyber attack. Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
sure, we're getting owned.
Yeah.
And
Did you
this
see what
again is
happened
that
with AT&T?
bias
You're like,
that people think that we're just incompetent and everyone else is super competent.
They must listen to the show because then they think that the world is evil and everybody gets hacked all the time.
We've trained them well.
Yeah.
We should just list the companies that didn't get hacked this week.
Oh, that's a good idea. That would take too long.
We're going to have to do.
Would it take that long?
No, I don't think it would. We're going to be like, and McDonald's. There
Yeah.
you go.
There you go.
That's it. Have a nice week.
Oh, and actually, we'll start with the new companies. This company was just incorporated. Oh no, they're on
Oh,
the list.
they're gone. All right. So AT&T said a botched update related to a network expansion caused the wireless outage. Quote, based on our initial review, we believe that today's outage was caused by the application and execution of an incorrect process used as we were expanding our network, not a cyber attack.
Do you know why I don't believe this?
Because
It's
they said
they've never
not-
expanded their network.
Because they said not a cyber attack.
No, I'm
This
just
was
kidding.
definitely not a cyber attack.
Definitely
It's
not.
just they're not going to expand their network anymore after this.
Yeah.
They've learned their lesson.
They probably should have just said it was a cyber attack.
So what do you think?
Because I don't know, like what?
SEC would
Okay,
have a problem with that.
First off, here's what you're telling me. You didn't have any safeguards around the commands you ran. You didn't actually test them on any other network. You didn't have a double check where, two engineers need to check exactly what's going on and what you're going to put in before you run it. You didn't have a failback. You didn't have a proper plan for upgrade and rollback migration. You didn't all of that.
So
You're like,
they went to-
let's
so
throw the switch.
They got
So your recommendation. So your recommendation is
or
instead of
just say it was a cyber attack.
when the boss says, "What happened? Did you screw something up?"
Cyber
no,
attack.
no, boss. It was cyber attack, and they want $1 million.
Yeah.
And they said, "I'm the only one that can deliver it." So
AT&T is like, sorry, we will never again order services from Bob's Discount networkupdates.com.
I know doing server updates in the past, like we had to have a plan for every second. Okay,
Yeah.
what if it fails here? How do we roll back? How do we recover? What's the quick, and they're just like, oh, we just didn't realize.
And if it was a cyber attack, a botched network update might still be true. Like, they
True.
could have botched something that left something vulnerable and then got an
Happens all the
attack.
time. Last big outage from Microsoft was a mistake, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Happens all
Yep.
people make mistakes. But you should think about the survivalist in me think, what is your alternative? What is your backup?
Yeah.
Right.
If the phone networks went down, do you have a landline?
I got mine. Radios.
You do. Yeah, you have the radio. So for those who don't know,
I can talk all across the world in radios.
Dwayne is a super ham radio guy.
I'm an extra class. Yeah, extra class ham radio.
I got a
operator.
Prius with a full tank of gas.
in the trunk.
No,
I just don't know where to put it.
I don't. I used to have a Prius, but I don't anymore. Okay, so that was just a little bit of fun at AT&T's expense. Let's get to the next one from NIST. NIST.
My friends at NIST.
The
So
maker of Fine Network.
NIST releases version 2.0 of Landmark Cybersecurity Framework.
the Cybersecurity Framework, or CSF, came out in 2014, and it's been referenced a billion times since then. 10 years is a long time, though. And so this is NIST coming out with a new, okay, here's how you do it now.
Yeah.
And this is great. I haven't gone through all of it, but it is a good thing that they've
Nobody
come up
has.
with this. It just came out 2 days ago.
All right.
So NIST is that organization I mentioned before, National Institute of Standards and Technologies. They're coming out with the quantum safe encryption algorithms and approving those. They control for when the government has controlled unclassified information, for example. This is information that's still important, but it's not in the classified data system.
Right.
They define how it needs to be protected and handled. So this organization has their hands in a lot of different places around cybersecurity, and so they know a lot about it. And they work strongly with other parts of the organization, like CISA,
Right.
who are in charge of security. So it's definitely worth a read. I'm sure it'll matriculate. Good word, eh? Eventually,
If you say so.
If you see people saying CSF, that's what they're talking about.
Okay.
So this is CSF 2.
All right. Good human interest story there, Patrick. Here, let's
Thing.
let's get to the most I think a little bit ridiculous, but striking story from Bleeping Computer. White House urges devs to switch to memory-safe programming languages. Oh, in that case,
That will
my
save
whole
us.
career is down the toilet.
I know, right? And this is it's so weird because it's like the White House says you should have cybersecurity policies in place. The White House says don't do stupid things. The White House says you should start using Rust. Like, what? Like, what?
Yeah, Rust. And that's basically what they said is that they're urging tech companies today to switch to memory-safe programming languages such as Rust to improve software security by reducing the number of memory safety vulnerabilities.
Okay.
That's one way to do it.
That's
one way to do it.
I have. I'm taking umbrage with this article.
Really?
I am. I get it. I get it. They
There's
should
a lot of SAT words in this episode.
I know,
right?
college words.
Wasn't she a professor at Hogwarts? But what I like.
Was, actually.
That's Carl who spits coffee all over his
I
mic.
almost did a spit take.
So I get it, but it's like saying let's not train the developers into making more secure code or anything like that.
Right.
Let's just instead of teaching a lumberjack how to use the axe properly so that he doesn't cut his leg off, let's just give him a rubber axe.
Yeah.
Let's stop using wood.
Yeah, no wood.
Right. And you're like maybe you should just teach him how to use an axe.
Think about the implications of this, right? Okay. No more framework-based languages, no more IL code or bytecode, no Java, no IL. It's only C++ and Rust, and everybody else, screw you.
I mean, C++ never had a security vulnerability.
Well, that's true.
Oh, yeah,
you couldn't
never.
even use C++.
Yeah.
Yeah, C++ is out.
Yep. Yeah, but the other thing is how many flaws There are a lot of flaws with memory initialization and buffer overflows and that sort of stuff. Use after freeze. We see them.
Mm-hmm.
We see them. But are those the most damaging ones? All of the flaws we talked about on this call and last week's call, and none of them had to do with buffer overflows.
Yeah.
None of them had to do with use after free,
Yep.
etc. They all had to do with just code logic,
And stupidity.
on the last call.
Like the one you just talked about with Joomla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with memory.
That wouldn't have saved you there.
Would
Wouldn't
not have
helped
saved you.
So I guess what they're saying is that we can look forward to future attacks where the attacks will be against code that's running in memory. And so memory safe programming is the key here. So people, because I guess they're anticipating attacks that will look at code running in memory and be able to manipulate it. As far as I know, it's very difficult to do that. I mean, I guess Rust has some magic built in that does it.
It's an unrealistic guidance. It's not a realistic guidance.
It is
It's a guidance
unrealistic.
that was issued by somebody who doesn't understand. Taken out of context, I don't know how or why. Normally, the White House has actually been pretty good the last few years to, give good guidance. This is not good guidance.
And I'm not knocking it. Like switching to programming languages that put some guardrails around usage of memory and that sort of stuff, not a terrible idea, right?
Are they talking about data in memory, like, secrets?
No, they're not.
Or are they talking about code?
Just code. Like, such vulnerabilities are coding errors or weaknesses within software that can lead to memory management issues when memory can be accessed, written, allocated, or deallocated.
In my opinion,
this leads to buffer overflows, use after freeze, and uninitialized memory.
This is when someone says, "Oh, there's been a lot of stabbings." Okay, well, let's ask everybody to just use sporks.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's also misplaced.
It's
like
misguided.
I'm thinking the operating system people should be the ones that are protecting memory, not the programmers.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting thought, actually.
If only there were automated ways to go through code and find these problems.
Right.
Because even in C#, right, you can use secure strings, which are basically encrypted in memory, but your code is certainly not encrypted. But at least people won't be able to do a memory dump and see, credit card numbers and whatever.
There's a technology in Windows where you can compile your C# application, C++, whatever, in App FlowGuard. And what it does...
My grandmother takes that for constant urination.
To be regular every day. I'm
Instead
regular.
of cranberry juice?
So, but what FlowGuard does... I know it does sound... Now it sounds like
it's totally untrue.
That's all you can hear.
I apologize.
Good
all you can
Lord.
hear now.
I apologize. That was totally untrue. My grandmother's actually dead, so...
Whew, thanks for clearing that up, Carl.
She died in the
She's
cranberry
sitting
bog.
in the urn next to my grandpa, which is now filled
Making
with sand.
sandcastles.
Sorry.
So you can compile your C# application
Yeah.
and compile it with this FlowGuard. And what will happen is the compiler will check every path of every possible execution in that application. And then it locks it to that path. So you can't buffer overrun. You can't call system DLLs that weren't originally called when the application was compiled. And you can set Windows to only run applications that have this protection. How many people do you think compile with this, Carl?
I don't know, but I'm Googling it right now, and I'm going to provide a link. Control
None.
FlowGuard, right?
Nobody programs with this on, because you'd have to then tell the computer to only run programs that are compiled with this, and nobody compiles it. So nobody wants to be the first one to do it. But there is a way to mitigate all buffer overflows already built into Windows.
It hasn't been adopted.
It's already there.
So,
And we'll send a link out to it. I remember when they introduced it. It is still there, but everybody has forgotten about it because nobody wants to be the first one to implement it.
Well, that's because most of the time, the backlog doesn't include securing the app.
So what did you say? If I use this, then I can only use it? What was the stipulation there?
So generally what you do is you turn it on for your computer in the Windows security exploit protection.
Oh, for your computer.
And every app needs to then have a FlowGuard
It's like safe mode.
associated with it.
Oh, I see. So it's not like, I can create an application for my customer, compile it with FlowGuard, and then give it to them, and they can run it on a regular Windows machine.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have not followed it since it came out like 100 years ago because because people don't use it. But there was and still is a system you can use. Mm-hmm. You can compile your application with it, and it literally is designed to stop buffer overflows. Here you go. I have a link right here.
Yeah, I got a link
Control
too.
FlowGuard in Windows 11, blah, 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 blah. What is it? What does it do? Control FlowGuard is a feature that makes it harder to exploit and execute arbitrary code through vulnerabilities such as buffer overflows. It is built into Windows, but you as a developer need to, when you compile your program, say you want to use this protection.
But I don't think the Windows client has to be in a special configuration. I think it can be.
Mm-hmm.
But does it have to be?
Well, we're all just looking at this for the first time, really. So we'll take a look at it. We'll report back next week, and meanwhile, we'll share the links so that you can take a look at it too.
But like I said, when it came out a long time ago, it was like everybody was like, "This is the end of buffer overflows and memory management issues."
Woohoo!
And then nobody used it.
Well, the answer to is C# dead is clearly no.
No.
So
no.
That's all I have to say.
Alive and well.
That.
Mostly dead.
Feeling much better. Shut up and get back in your urn.
And I'd say the odds that Rust doesn't develop problems as it gets more mature that we didn't even think about before is zero. It's going to be, there's going to be things like, oh yeah, Rust, we didn't think about that when it first came out, but they're exploiting this aspect of it.
Clearly not the answer, but the problem exists, and we should be thinking about ways like FlowGuard or whatever.
But not trivially simple ways like, I could stop hacking on the internet. We just shut it off.
Yeah, just turn it off.
Yeah, easy.
Easy. See?
Right? Done.
But, Patrick, that's very forward thinking of you. I mean, your way to combat ransomware is never to pay ransoms. So.
That's right. If we had done that when I first said it, it would be over by now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. They wouldn't get any money.
I don't think
so.
so.
Oh my God.
If there's no profit,
2 out of 3 hackers
do
on this podcast disagree with you.
That is absolute no. It is a nice thought, but no.
Well, we'll let you obsess on these issues and more all week, and we'll see you next week.
As they said, wrong.
Wrong.
Thanks, guys.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.